Yeah, I mean, Capricorn is just in general, it's such a strange sign to be in right now because we're looking around and we're like, well, who is the authority? And our relationship to authority, the way that I see it, has really taken some hits. Well, really,
Hmm.
since 2008,
Oh yeah.
when Pluto moved into Capricorn. But this looking around the world and saying, like, nobody, the people that are supposed to be in charge are doing a crappy job. And then we
Right.
have to look at our own internal Capricorn energy and say, like, well, I've been in charge. What kind of job have I been doing? And I think that that's been really confrontational because a lot of us would say, well, I haven't been doing that great of a job at taking responsibility for myself, of making sure that I'm in alignment with my morals and my values and my ethics. But I think that we're getting better at that. I think that's part of what this energy of 2025 has been around, is saying, you have to really examine what authority means to you and who you wish to take as your authority and what you want that to look like. And then we're up against, again, like I've mentioned several times, this cultural expectation that everybody believes in the exact same authority, doing things the exact same way. And if you don't believe in that, then you're out. But we're now that Pluto is out of Capricorn, we're like, and into Aquarius, where we get to kind of innovate the relationship to authority. I think many of us are getting better at it. And I think that, like you said, the Capricorns are like, oh, thank God.
Well, they're gone, absolutely, but they're lost. They still find. I found with Cancer, their seventh house, opposite. They were emotionally drained on their family. Like, I think they didn't deal with their feelings. They would come home and like kind of jumping on who they're in relationships with. They really were codependent in that sense, and they're having to grow out of that. And Aries for them is the fourth house, so like tough as nails at home. But I think that's the ram having become the sheep. Like softening up, using that strength they have to nurture themselves, not necessarily go after certain markets. And with Pluto going in the second house in Aquarius, they're no longer the shit. Like they have to reinvent themselves in business. They're being forced to move into all the new clean energy. They're being forced to move into the newer, and they've always had the vision. But I think what they didn't expect was that it would have to play by the rules that way too. Like, oh, you can have all this innovative stuff, but it's like, but you also must be innovative in how fair you are. If you pay people, and they're like, oh, kind of thing. So they realize they're getting upgraded in like what they need to look at morally.
Yeah, it's a new version of authority, really,
Hmm.
because
Well
what
said.
used to work, that standard, like, we do this, you get your degree and then you do this, and
Yeah.
that all got broken down with Pluto going through Capricorn. And now we're trying to reconfigure what authority means. And it has to be new. And I think that's one of the things that the millennials are going to be doing with their Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn, is that they're
Me too.
setting the bar. They're saying, like, look, we're not going to follow the same rules. And so we're all looking at that generation and saying, like, oh, maybe they're on to something. And then
Hmm.
we're watching, the older generations are much more naturally Capricorn. And we're
Mm.
watching them start to, move out of positions of power. So there's a lot that the
Hmm.
Capricorns are recalibrating, and we're all recalibrating on some level when it comes to that energy.
And I think they're going to figure out where it's valuable. I think also, Leo, they're supposed to, the rule of law is simple. It says in their chart, Leo in the eighth house, every boundary should be made with love, period. That's it. That's if you just did that, Capricorns, you'd have empires. If you just made every boundary with love, and that's what Leo in the eighth is, and Capricorns, if I've married Capricorn before, like it's not till you get to that bedroom that you feel that they love you. Like, oh, thank God you love me. Thank God. you know, because you don't know up until that moment, until that private room where they suddenly take off their suit of power that they wear. It's very interesting too. They're very interesting, but they're not happy. I know that they were hoping to bounce back faster in most cases I've talked to. But I think there's just so many things. I don't think they understand that the depth of which the change will be, because we're including this other like level of Aquarius, of belonging, and things having certain heartfelt inalienable rights. I think the last thing the United States was forged was Pluto came in Capricorn, went into Aquarius. The American Revolution, the Declaration was in Pluto in Capricorn, and the most of the Revolutionary War was in Pluto and Aquarius. And the Revolutionary War ended at 4 degrees Aquarius, Grandmaster 4 of Aquarius. That's when it ended. So it's like, so I think we have a lot to see, is what I'm saying, with Pluto and Aquarius, because it really sets like whole new standards on how we organize and how we come together as people. And for Capricorns, that's money for them. That's money. So the shadow there is like, oh God, I may not be it anymore.